The door crashed shut behind me, the sound reverberating through the thin walls of my cramped apartment. My chest heaved, each breath a jagged reminder of the fight that had just torn my world apart. Claire's voice still rang in my ears, sharp and final. I don't feel the same anymore, Ethan. We're done. Her words were a blade, slicing through 3 years of shared laughter, late-night talks, and quiet mornings. I stood frozen in the dim hallway, the weight of her absence pressing down on me like a physical force. My hands trembled as I stumbled into the kitchen, yanking open the fridge. The cold glass of a beer bottle felt like an anchor in my shaking fingers. I cracked it open, the hiss of the cap a small rebellion against the silence she'd left behind. The first gulp burned, but it didn't dull the ache. How could she just walk away? 3 years. And she looked at me with eyes so empty they didn't even hold anger, just a hollow certainty that we were over. I leaned against the counter, the edge digging into my palms, staring at the chipped linoleum floor as if it held answers. My mind replayed her face, her voice, the way she'd turned away without looking back. The pain was raw, a wound that pulsed with every heartbeat. A soft knock at the door jolted me out of my spiraling thoughts. I froze, my grip tightening on the bottle. I wasn't in the mood for company, not now. Maybe not ever. But the knocking came again, gentle but insistent. Ethan, it's Lucas, from across the hall. Heard a bit of a commotion. You okay in there, Lucas? The guy who always had a quick smile and a bad joke. Who'd helped me carry a couch up 3 flights of stairs when I moved in. He was a good neighbor, maybe even a friend, though I'd never said it out loud. I hesitated, my instinct to shut the world out warring with the part of me that didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. With a heavy sigh, I shuffled to the door and pulled it open. Lucas stood there, his dark eyes scanning me with quiet concern. His flannel shirt was slightly rumpled, like he'd just thrown it on, and his hair was a mess of curls that caught the hallway light. You look like hell, man, he said, his voice soft but laced with warmth. Need someone to sit with you, or at least share a beer? I almost said no, the word heavy on my tongue, but something in his expression genuine, unguarded made me pause. Yeah, I muttered, stepping aside. Beers are in the fridge. He nodded, brushing past me with an easy stride, and I sank onto the couch, the worn cushions creaking under my weight. The apartment felt too small, too quiet, the ghost of Claire's presence lingering in every corner. Lucas returned with 2 bottles, handing one to me before settling beside me. So, he said, his tone careful, like he was stepping around broken glass. What happened? I took a long pull from the beer, the cold liquid grounding me just enough to speak. Claire, I said, the name bitter in my mouth. She's done. Said she doesn't love me anymore. My voice cracked, betraying the hurt I was trying to bury. Lucas winced, his brow furrowing. Damn, Ethan, that's rough. I'm sorry. He didn't push, didn't offer empty platitudes, just let the silence sit between us. It wasn't awkward, though it was the kind of quiet that felt like a hand on your shoulder. Steady and reassuring. We sat there, the hum of the fridge and the distant murmur of the city outside, filling the space. I didn't realize how much I needed someone there until the silence wasn't so heavy anymore. You want to talk about it? Lucas asked after a while, his voice low. Nah, I said, shaking my head. Can we just watch something? Anything? I needed a distraction, something to drown out the echo of Claire's words. Sure thing. Lucas grabbed the remote, flipping on the TV. The screen lit up with a basketball game. The roar of the crowd and the squeak of sneakers a welcome intrusion. I leaned back, letting the noise wash over me, and for the first time that night, the knot in my chest loosened just a fraction. It wasn't the beer or the game, it was Lucas. His quiet presence like a tether keeping me from drifting too far into the dark. As the game played on, I found myself glancing at him. He was sprawled casually on the couch, one arm slung over the back, his focus half on the screen, half on me. He caught my eye and offered a small smile, one that seemed to say he understood more than I was ready to admit. You don't have to say anything, he said, his voice steady. But I'm here if you do. I nodded. My throat tight. I wasn't ready to talk, not about Claire, not about the storm of emotions churning inside me. But Lucas didn't push. He just sipped his beer, letting me sit with my thoughts, giving me space I hadn't known I needed. Time slipped by, the game a blur of motion and color. Lucas broke the silence again. His tone light but deliberate. You know, I've been through a breakup or two myself. Doesn't make this hurt any less, but it's not the end of the world. You're not as alone as you think. His words hit something deep, a crack in the wall I'd built round myself. I looked at him, really looked, and saw the sincerity in his eyes. Yeah, I asked, my voice rougher than I meant it to be. Yeah, he said, meeting my gaze. It's hell, no doubt about it, but you get through it, and sometimes you come out stronger. You just need time and maybe someone to remind you you're not in it alone. I let out a shaky laugh, the sound more bitter than I intended. Stronger, huh? Not feeling that right now. Lucas smiled, a soft, knowing curve of his lips. Not yet, but you will. And I'm around, you know, for beers, bad TV, whatever you need. Thanks. I said, the word heavy with gratitude I couldn't fully express. It was small, but it was enough for now. Lucas clinked his bottle against mine, a silent toast to surviving. And we settled back into the couch, the game fading into the background dot as the night wore on. Something shifted. The air between us felt different, warmer, charged with an undercurrent I couldn't name. Lucas's arm rested casually on the couch, close enough that I could feel the heat of him. And every time he laughed or leaned closer to point out something on the screen, my pulse quickened. I told myself it was the beer, the exhaustion, the rawness of the day, but deep down, I knew it was more. You're staring, Lucas said suddenly, his voice teasing but soft, his eyes catching mine. There was something in his gaze, curiosity, maybe, or something deeper that made my breath catch. Sorry, I mumbled, my face heating as I looked away. But he didn't let it go. It's okay, he said, his voice dropping lower, more intimate. I don't mind. The room felt too small all of a sudden, the space between us electric. I was hyper-aware of everything, the way his knee brushed mine, the faint scent of his soap, the steady rhythm of his breathing. My heart pounded, a mix of fear and something else, something I wasn't ready to name. Lucas shifted closer, just a fraction, his eyes searching mine, and for a moment, I thought he might lean in. I wanted him to. I didn't. The conflict tore at me, and before I could make sense of it, I stood abruptly, my beer bottle clattering on the coffee table. I need some air, I stammered, heading for the door. The cool night breeze hit me like a lifeline as I stepped outside, my chest tight with 1,000 unspoken thoughts. I heard Lucas call after me, his voice gentle but tinged with worry, but I didn't turn back. I couldn't, not yet. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lucas's face. The way his eyes had softened when he looked at me. The way my body had responded in ways I didn't understand. It wasn't just about Claire anymore. It was about him, about me, about the terrifying possibility that I was feeling something I'd never felt before. Days turned into weeks, and I threw myself into work, into routine, into anything that kept my mind off Lucas. But he was always there, in the quiet moments and the ache I couldn't shake. I avoided his door, took the stairs instead of the elevator to dodge the chance of running into him. But the more I ran, the heavier the weight in my chest grew. I wasn't just avoiding him, I was avoiding myself. One evening, after a long day of pretending everything was fine, my phone buzzed with a text. Lucas, just checking in. Hope you're okay. No pressure. Just here. My heart twisted at the simplicity of it, at the way he was still there. Even after I'd pushed him away, I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the screen. But I couldn't bring myself to reply. Not yet. It wasn't until a quiet night, sitting alone with a glass of whiskey, that I finally faced it. The burn of the liquor couldn't drown out the truth anymore. I didn't just miss Lucas, I wanted him, not just as a friend, but as something more. The realization was a tidal wave, crashing through every defense I'd built. I'd spent weeks running from it, but it was real, and it wasn't going away. Before I could talk myself out of it, I grabbed my phone and typed out a message. Me, I'm not okay, but I'm trying. Can we talk? My thumb hovered over the send button, my heart pounding, but I pressed it before I could change my mind. His reply came faster than I expected. Lucas, anytime. I'm here. Minutes later, I was at his door, my fist raised to knock. When he opened it, his eyes widened with surprise, then softened with something that looked like hope. Ethan, he said, his voice warm but cautious. Didn't expect to see you. Can we talk? I asked, my voice barely steady. He stepped aside, letting me in, and we sat on his couch, the same one where everything had started to shift. The silence was heavy, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was expected, like we both knew something big was coming. I've been a mess, I admitted, staring at my hands after Claire, after us. I didn't know how to handle it. I still don't, not really. But I know I messed up. Running out like that. I'm sorry. Lucas's gaze was steady, his voice soft. You don't have to apologize, Ethan. I get it. This is a lot. It is, I said, forcing myself to meet his eyes. But it's not just about Claire. It's about you, about how I feel when I'm with you. It's different, scary, but it's real. His expression softened, and he reached out, his hand resting on mine. The touch was electric, grounding. You don't have to have it all figured out, he said, but you don't have to do it alone, either. I swallowed hard, the weight in my chest shifting, lightening. I don't want to run anymore, I said, my voice steady now. I want to figure this out. With you. A slow smile spread across his face, warm and unguarded. Then we'll figure it out together, he said, squeezing my hand, one step at a time. I leaned in, closing the distance between us, and kissed him. It wasn't rushed or desperate. It was sure, steady, like coming home. His lips were warm, his touch gentle but certain, and as the kiss deepened, I felt the last of my doubts melt away. This wasn't about labels or answers. It was about us, about the way he made me feel seen, understood, alive. When we pulled back, we were both smiling, a quiet promise passing between us. Together, I echoed, my voice soft but sure, and as we sat there, wrapped in the quiet warmth of his apartment, I knew this was just the beginning. The road ahead wasn't clear, but with Lucas beside me, I wasn't afraid to walk it. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be.